Morning, everybody. I'm Tyson Nicoll, Southwest Biochar. Products were located in eastern Arizona. I want to talk a little bit more on boots on the ground type of experience with our system, but as talk a little bit about expectations versus reality of a biochar operation and the value that we've seen from excess heat. So I'm talking a little bit about our company overview pre-biochar. I think it's important to understand where we came from and to develop a biochar system or implement a biochar system, and talk a little bit about choosing and designing that, and then get into the expectations versus reality, because reality is pretty different from what our expectations were. And then the added heat source, the value of that, and then just kind of ending with a little bit of where we go from where we're at now. So prior to Southwest Biochar, we have Arizona Log and Timber Works, and that's still our main operation. In 2000, we installed a pole peeler for peeling logs for log homes. We had my dad, I was a little kid, but a log home construction company. We manufactured custom log homes. So we started with a pole peeler. Then we wanted to increase production on that pole peeler, use it more. So we installed a pressure treatment facility, started doing small diameter poles. And then as we increased production, we got a lot of waste. The shavings we could haul to a biomass plant, but the cutoff ends, the poles couldn't use. We were trying to find outlets for that, so we put in a firewood operation, bundled firewood. Well, that created more waste than I think it helped solve the problem. It used a lot of stuff, but then there's other stuff from that operation. The challenge with that operation is that the waste from the firewood, it couldn't be hauled to the biomass plant without being ground first. And so we had to have 50 truckloads worth of material on the ground before someone with a grinder would come in and grind and haul it off in order for it to be worth their time. And so that's where we started looking into utilizing some of our own waste. Like I said, there's a biomass plant, electric plant, about an hour and a half from our location, and that's it. So if they were to shut down, it'd be have a major impact on our business. And initially there was value in that biomass, but as transportation costs increased, at this point we're giving it away to get rid of it. So a few things. We're a small family business. Cost was a major consideration when looking at a biochar unit. We didn't have access to a lot of capital other than begging my siblings for some money. Expertise, we knew how to manufacture things. We knew a little bit about biochar, but we had no idea how to manufacture it. And so, working with a company that would be able to fulfill our needs. In 2021, we got a grant through the Wood Innovations Program. This grant allowed us to purchase a kiln, a wood kiln. We didn't have a kiln before. We don't have access to natural gas. The only heating source we have is propane, and it's very expensive, so it didn't make sense. So the grant allowed us to get a kiln, improve our pole production, and our contribution to that was the biochar system. And what the grant was looking for was a heat source that replaced heat from fossil fuels. So in our case, we would have had to use propane, but we now have a heat source from our biochar machine. This isn't a promotional thing, but our machine is Artie's machine. They have a booth downstairs, and that's who we chose to go with. We feel like they had the expertise. Also, they had the scalability. We started with their smallest machine. and move forward with that. So expectations, everything would run smoothly. We have the perfect feedstock. The machine will operate automatically or, with minimal babysitting. Production targets will be met, and we will not be able to keep up with the demand for biochar. Everyone's going to be knocking on our door wanting to buy biochar. And some of these realities that are a bit of an overstatement, but I'm going to talk about each of these in more depth. But nothing runs smoothly. We have an okay feedstock. The machine operates with constant supervision. Production estimates skewed. And will we ever see the biochar sale? So first, nothing runs smoothly. Biochar equipment is a relatively new industry, right? That there's a lot of equipment out there that can be modified for biochar production, but as far as biochar equipment producers, it's a new industry. So there's a lot of bugs to work out, and I think we've learned about all of those bugs. Electronics are good until they're not. We have a semi-automatic operating machine, but if something glitches, it has a major impact. Every material flows differently, and that's something I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. High heat is hard on equipment. Sure, that's a common sense thing, but until you actually experience it, it's hard. We've had some major repairs we've had to do because operators maybe don't pay attention or realize that if temperatures get too hot, what's going to happen to the metal. And then last is labor development. It's a new process, developing the labor, the personnel to operate it. We have an okay feedstock. We have a great feedstock. The challenge was the flow of the feedstock. So we have long, thin shavings that come off of our pole peelers, and in line with our biochar system is a hammer mill. And so most of the time our feedstock would flow good to that hammer mill, but if we got a chunk in there, that chunk would cause headaches, jam augers, jam the hammer mill, and cause the machine to go into cool down. And that made it really inefficient to run. So we got a grinder, a tub grinder to pre-process the material, and that's how we solved that. Constant supervision needed because heating up and cooling down a biochar machine makes it a very inefficient process. So if there's a major jam, we need someone there that can unjam the auger or the grinder so that everything keeps running smoothly. So we can monitor it remotely, but for the sake of keeping the machine running, it's good to have someone always present. Production estimate skewed. So when we got our machine, we were hoping to do 10 to 12 cubic yards per hour, and that wasn't the case. And so we got nervous and started thinking, we got a faulty machine, we've got to push this machine to more limits. Ultimately, size matters. If you have a chunky biochar, you're going to fill a machine or a cubic yard a lot faster than small material. And our experience is that in the biochar market in the U.S., everything's sold, or the bulk sales are by the yard. Well, that doesn't take into consideration the weight or the amount of product that's in there. And so, ours is a lot smaller product. It's the picture on the right. So it takes a lot more to fill up a bag, but there's a lot more product in there, and that was something we had to learn. And will we ever see the biochar sale? And if you asked me this question 6 months ago, when I was pulling my hair out, you can tell it's pretty thin by now. We didn't know. And it's not a resounding yes, like not everybody's knocking on our door yet, but we're starting to see it sell. We're starting to see movement, and that's beneficial. come to where we are now. Labor costs high, we have a small system, we've got cost and feedstock, so how's it worth it for us to run our machine? And the answer is an added heat source. So back to this picture, we have a wood kiln, initially designed for heat treating firewood, but long enough to put utility poles in there, and now we use it 99% of it is for drying or sterilizing utility poles. We designed it with a direct heat system. So on the top picture, on the right is the black box. That's the chimney stack of our biochar unit. And we're just pulling the heat directly out of there and blowing it into our kiln. So it's a direct heat source for that. The challenge with that is smoke and soot. As we maybe are starting up, or if we have a jam, we have a cool down sequence, and we're still running our fans, we bring smoke onto our product, which is another challenge. So something we've had to work with, but this really has been what's made our small unit worth running. It's opened up a lot of markets that we didn't know would open up when we even designed the kiln. But for our utility pole production, it's really opened up a lot of markets, and I would say allow us to increase our production there 2 to 3 times what we're currently doing over the next couple of years because of that heat source. All right, so where do we go from here? Our plan is to go to a 24/7 operation. Right now we operate 24 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week, but the goal will be to go 24/7. Get another grant. That should be past tense. We've already gotten another grant, and during the question section, if people have questions about things that were talked about, grants would be another thing. We've been very successful with getting grants. So we've gotten a grant to under the Wood Innovations program to scale up our production. So that's the next thing. We've ordered a machine. We're scaling up. So another machine from Arty. We're using a 5-reactor system, which is the largest they made. We started with the smallest. We're now going to the largest system that they make. So then improve the heat source. Improving the heat source is we're adding an afterburner to our machine. So it'll allow the smoke more time to process, to burn off the gases, so it's completely clean. So then as we're blowing it into the kiln, we should have no problem with blackening of the product. And then create value-added biochar, finding other products to add biochar to, compost, things like that. We're looking at adding to our project and to our facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Biochar.org appreciates the support of our sponsors, exhibitors, presenters, and attendees. We look forward to seeing you at our next conference in September 2025.